Early trends trickling in for the by-poll results for the 3 Lok Sabha and 33 Assembly seats across 9 states. The SP and the BJP neck and neck in Uttar Pradesh, a close fight in Rajasthan, and a battle for prestige for the Saffron Party in Gujarat. It's the Prime Minister's test by fire as it comes barely a few weeks ahead of Assembly polls in Maharashtra and Haryana. Good morning and welcome. You're watching Headlines Today and we are focusing on the by-poll results. And joining me in the studio this morning is Rajdeep Sardesai. Welcome. Good morning. Great to have you with us. Also, India Today Group's cephalogist, Dr. Ashok Lahiri. Rajdeep, why don't you begin this broadcast by setting up for our viewers the significance of these by-poll results?
I think the significance, Rahul, is very clear. I think the BJP, after what happened in Bihar, particularly last month, where they lost ground in Karnataka, lost surprisingly ground even in Madhya Pradesh, need to win today and win big. Because these are seats, most of which are held by the BJP, particularly Uttar Pradesh. I think Uttar Pradesh is the key because there is a section of the BJP which is hoping that elections in Uttar Pradesh won't take place as late as 2017, but may come as early as 2015 or 16. So they need to sweep Uttar Pradesh today. So I think Uttar Pradesh...
But given the huge majority that the SP has in Uttar Pradesh, isn't that wishful thinking, no matter what happens today?
That's right. But if you win 11 again, there's a momentum. And there's a feeling that at some stage in the next 12 to 18 months, something will happen in Lucknow, which will almost ensure that the BJP can push the SP into an early poll. We don't know what. But the fact is that there is a section within the BJP which believes that until you get power in Lucknow, the victory of 2014 won't be complete. The victory will be complete, or Amit Shah's triumph will be complete if he can win the state election in Uttar Pradesh. So to that extent, I think today Uttar Pradesh is where the real critical battle of these by-elections is taking place. The other areas, frankly, Rahul, are more or less decided. You don't expect ruling parties, for example, in Andhra Pradesh or in Telangana to lose in a by-election. You don't expect a ruling party to lose in a Gujarat or in a Rajasthan. I think Uttar Pradesh, and also interesting, Mainpuri. Mulayam has given up the seat. Can the BJP make any dent in a seat like Mainpuri? Can they at least reduce the margin? I think it's all about Uttar Pradesh today. I think most of the rest
in some of the seats in Uttar Pradesh, whether it's a Raghav Lakhanpal or a Kumar Bhatinder Singh, they've been talking about love jihad, which has been the focus for the past several weeks in the build-up to these polls. Do you think that as an electoral strategy could pay dividends for the BJP? Has that been a factor at all?
That's the interesting point. The very fact that they've gone into this election, particularly in Western Uttar Pradesh, with a more polarized campaign. They brought in Aditya Nath as a star campaigner, effectively suggesting that after having won the general elections on a more inclusive agenda, projecting Narendra Modi, they realize that in a state election, Narendra Modi may not have the same appeal that he has in a general election. So what do? You return back to basics. You return back to Hindutva politics. And therefore, you bring in issues like love jihad. So there is a question mark also whether the UP BJP has the same electoral muscle that the national BJP has. There is no Narendra Modi here this time. You're not voting for Narendra Modi in this election. You're voting for your individual candidate. And let's be honest, the BJP organizationally has declined in UP in the last 15 years. So this is an attempt by the BJP, the first step to test the waters. Should we fight this election in the future in UP on a Hindutva agenda, using issues like love jihad, or should we bank on the image of Narendra Modi? I think that's the dilemma which will reflect.
But Dr. Lahiri, electorally it works very well both for the SP and for the BJP. The SP is able to consolidate and polarize minority votes. The BJP is able to consolidate Hindu votes cutting across caste lines. Do you think the absence of Modi will push the BJP in an assembly context more in the direction of things like love jihad, which may not be inclusive but might yield electoral dividends?
No, there are two issues. One is moral and political ethics. The other is tactical. Now, when you look at love jihad, for example, and polarization, when you polarize, you may be losing some of the other community votes as well. I mean, if you win Muslim votes, you may lose Hindu votes. And if you win Hindu votes by polarizing, trying to win Hindu votes, there may be some parts of the majority community which may go against you. So I'm not very sure whether polarization politics, if it's brought out in the open, completely explicitly, it's a winning strategy. It's better to have a sort of subdued, low-level kind of thing. I don't think it's a winning strategy to come out in the open and say that we are in favor of such a strategy.
Rajdeep, the BSP has chosen not to contest any of these assembly bypolls. Is that good strategy on the part of Mayawati, or is she just scared of being drubbed once more like was the case in May?
I think it's a bit of both. I think the fact is that she is a little worried that if she was drubbed again, it would lead to demoralization of cadres. But generally, Rahul, you'll see, Mayawati often doesn't even fight local body elections. She tends to focus on the big elections. And I think that space which Mayawati is vacating is also being captured to a large extent by the BJP. Her vote share didn't decline in the general elections. But what did happen is that once the election got polarized, the BJP with 30-35% in a 4-horse race was always going to be in pole position. And today what you're finding, the Congress hasn't really fought this election. Rahul Gandhi has not even campaigned aggressively in this election. This battle, Rahul, in UP at the moment is primarily between the BJP and the Samajwadi party. You don't have, where is the BSP? Where is the Congress?
I've got some interesting trends coming in. In Saharanpur, a seat held earlier by Raghav Lakhanpal, who's now become an MP, the Samajwadi party is leading by a substantial lead of 10,000 votes. That is significant. Also in Nighasan, we've got a Samajwadi party candidate winning after the second round of voting. So this is not, so far at least, turning out to be a one-way sweep for the BJP. There is a battle that's taking place.
That's interesting, and maybe Mr. Lahiri can come in on this, because what I want to understand is that in a by-election, in general, the party in power tends to do better than they would in a general election or in a state election. Generally, you found that the party which is in power in the state is able to control a by-election with a little bit more of using state power than they might in a general election.
But Rajdeep, while that is
no,
the general conception,
is that true?
I don't think that, I can't give you a definitive answer because I haven't studied it, but my impression is normally the ruling party in the state does not do as well in the by-election as it did in the state election.
But there was a recent study by 2 PhD scholars which showed that there is no definite evidence to prove that because you are the government of the state at that time, you benefit in a by-election. The study showed that it is inconclusive on both sides, both for centre and for the state.
Let me get back to what Rajdeep has said about BSP. I'm not quite sure that this is the strategy that BSP has been following. BSP has been putting up candidates in Lok Sabha elections.
So I think your mic's just giving us a bit of a problem. The battery might have packed up. Give us a moment. We'll try and set this right. Shaina ANC from the Bharatiya Janata Party is joining us this morning. The initial trends, Shaina, from Uttar Pradesh suggest that this is not turning out to be a one-way sweep for the BJP. It's neck and neck between the SP and the BJP so far, Shaina.
Well, I think that's an assumption you're making looking at the early trends, but that's not something to go by completely. Please let's understand, Rahul, that in Uttar Pradesh there have been so many major issues of communal violence, communal tension, atrocities against women. Law and order is a serious issue vis-a-vis not just the voter, but I think also in terms of a mandate on whether they want to have the Samajwadi rule or rather misrule, or vis-a-vis the BJP, which has shown a good governance model not just in the centre but also through a proactiveness of our new members of parliament in the home turf of Uttar Pradesh. So I am very bullish that yes, we will make it, and we will make it with superb numbers. And by elections normally also depend on lots of factors, the voting percentage, how many people actually came out to vote. We've seen in Bihar that 2 cases of BJP losing was predominantly because of the low voting turnout. I mean, it was 46% vis-a-vis 64% in the Lok Sabha elections. So I think all these factors
no, but Shaina, let's not already start blaming turnout. A victory is a victory and a defeat is a defeat. And so far, of the 11 seats where bypolls have been held, we've got trends coming in for 8, where Dr. Lahiri, the SP is leading on 5 and the BJP is leading on 3. Remember, these were seats which the BJP was sitting on, at least most of them. This is where their MLAs became MPs, and that's how these seats got vacated. If this trend were to hold, this would not be good news at all for the Bharatiya Janata Party.
I would agree with you that whichever party wins, and particularly it's an upset, this will win in the sale of that party. SP actually is a worried party.
Okay, so SP in a bit of a, the SP leading currently, Rajdeep, in 5 seats, the BJP leading only in 3. This is interesting because these are BJP strongholds.
Absolutely. I think if this result holds, and I mean, you know, we've now got to be very careful in this age of electronic voting to sort of make any assumptions at 9-10. But I think the sense is that if this holds, if the SP makes gains at the expense of the BJP, given what happened in August, you see, I think the BJP will have to stop walking on water. You know, we are seeing what they're doing in Maharashtra. They're virtually bullying the Shiv Sena and saying we want 30 more seats. They've already given up the Haryana Janhit Congress in Haryana. So the BJP is calling the shots at the moment in the belief, Rahul, that after what happened in May, they can literally call the shots in every state. Now, if they start losing in UP, then it does to some extent at least give the Samajwadi party some hope. I still believe that these by-election results will not alter dramatically what happens in a state election. I still believe, I know Mr. Lahiri disagreed with me, but that a ruling party has a slight edge in a by-election because they know how to use state power.
No, but it also gives...
But I think I agree with Mr. Lahiri that it might also teach the BJP some kind of a salutary lesson that you can't use a particular brand of politics in a by-election which you didn't use in the state election. Now you're overtly using a communal propaganda with love jihad, which you didn't do in the general elections. So maybe the BJP will also learn a lesson if these election results hold. But I still believe I want to wait to see the final results. And we know I'll be very surprised if Samajwadi Party wins as many as 5 of the by-elections.
And we know what Samna might carry in its editorial tomorrow morning.
That's right.
The SP is being bullied by the BJP, and that's not something that they're liking very much. The Shiv Sena believes that the BJP is asking for far more than is fair. A setback in Uttar Pradesh is something that the Shiv Sena would relish, even if it happens to its alliance partner. Let's go across to Vadodara. Joining us from there is Gaurav Sawant. While there is a battle on in Uttar Pradesh, it's one-way traffic completely in favor of the BJP in Gujarat so far, even though I see that the Congress is leading currently in 1 seat. Gaurav, give us the latest update.
The latest update from Vadodara is that the BJP candidate is leading. The margin is already 84,000 votes. Now, Ranjan Bhatt is the deputy mayor of Vadodara, and he is, leading with a margin of 84,000 votes as of now. The Congress candidate, remember, Rahul, was the gentleman who had won the Congress primaries. He, of course, did not want to contest against Narendra Modi. He felt he was a weaker candidate. Madhusudan Mistry came. But it's the infighting, and the Congress already saying that here, the leaders we've been speaking to, that it's the infighting that seems to be getting the Congress down, with the BJP taking a lead. If we were to talk about the assembly seats, in the 9 assembly seats, the BJP said to be leading in 8 and Congress in 1. In Anand. So these are initial trends, of course. Just now could well change in Gujarat, but the BJP camp looks rather upbeat vis-a-vis the Congress camp, Rahul.
Got latest trends from Vadodara, where the BJP after 4 rounds is leading by 84,000 votes. Rahul Gandhi came up with the concept of primaries to give out tickets in the Congress party. The gentleman who won the primary in Vadodara was then asked to step back in favor of Madhusudan Mistry, who got decimated by Narendra Modi in the Lok Sabha elections. That seat again heading towards the BJP quite scarcely. Dr. Lahiri wants to come in on the significance of what we're seeing so far in Uttar Pradesh. Most often we've seen what happens in the first hour and a half stays. That trend firms up. Do you think the same is likely to happen with the SP now leading in 6 and the BJP down to leading only in 3 seats so far?
So Rahul, what Rajdeep has already said, the word of caution is very important, that in these days of electronic voting, it's safer not to say anything because we may be proved wrong in the next 15 minutes. Yet, I think it's correct that unless you find that different segments have voted very differently, trends don't get upset. That's what I have noticed in the last Lok Sabha election as well. I just wanted to add one more thing, Rahul. Just by seeing a one-day test cricket match, one-day test, you can't conclude what is going to happen to a regular test series. Similarly, I would just sound a word of caution that one shouldn't read too much into by-poll results in trying to predict what is going to happen if a state assembly election or a Lok Sabha election were to be held tomorrow.
Okay, we've got
Because
leads
bypolls are
coming
very
in from
different.
Mangrol in Gujarat, where after the 7th round, the Congress leading by 4,175 votes. I also want to go across to Sugata Roy of the Trinamool Congress. The Trinamool, sir, besieged by the investigation into the Sharda scam. Also, a BJP which believes it's on the ascendant. Do you think if the Trinamool does not fare well in these elections, a message will go out before the municipal elections that Didi is on a sticky wicket now in West Bengal, sir? Do you hear me, Dada? Give us a moment as we try and fix that audio line with Sugata Roy. In West Bengal, there are 2 seats where elections are being held. One held by the TMC, the other by the left. And the question, of course, is will the BJP be able to make any dents, especially in Bashirat Dakshin, where it did really well in the urban areas of Bashirat during the May Lok Sabha elections. In Chaurangi, which is held by the TMC, the question is whether or not the TMC will be able to retain that. Given the fact, Rajdeep, that the TMC so far has been in battle with the Sarda scam now pointing towards Mamata Banerjee, do you think a setback in these bypolls will weaken her position somewhat?
That's right. You know, that's an interesting constituency, because the fact is that Mamata Banerjee has had to answer perhaps more serious questions in the last 2 months than she had to answer in the previous 2 years. Suddenly, Mamata Banerjee is finding herself under pressure. But the fact is, the problem is there is no alternative. The Tina factor. The left is still struggling to come to terms with the defeat they suffered almost 3 years ago now. And the real problem for Mamata is the BJP. I think what will be interesting to see is how the BJP starts performing in Bengal in every election now, between now and the next state election in 2017. You know, that to my mind, 2016. My sense is that the BJP is what Mamata is worried about, and which is why it's not the left, but the BJP which could emerge as a potential challenger, particularly in urban Bengal. But yes, you're right that in the backdrop of the Sarda scam, Mamata needs to win big to again establish her primacy in Bengal. So I think it's not just victory, but it's the margin of victory which is important also. It's a margin of victory is important in Gujarat, that even in a post Narendra Modi Gujarat, you know, Anandiben Patel can take the party forward. It's important in Telangana. Can KCR hold on, because that's been a contentious part of the country at the moment, whether he can establish his hold, not just in his first big test after becoming Chief Minister, and likewise Chandrababu Naidu. So I think margins matter, but Uttar Pradesh, from what you're saying, is turning out to be the story of this morning.
Let's go across to Chaurangi in Kolkata. Joining us from there is Indrajit Kundu. Indrajit, what's the latest ground report that you can give us about both the seats, about Bashirat Dakshin and also about Chaurangi, Indrajit?
Well, Rahul, as far as the latest trends are concerned, in Basirhat, after 2 rounds, we see that the Trinamool is leading there. Trinamool's candidate is Dibyendu Biswas, former footballer. As far as Chaurangi seat is concerned, it's very interesting. After 3rd round, we see it's the Congress which is now leading. The Congress candidate has got 8,000 odd votes. And the Trinamool Congress candidate, Naina Bandyopadhyay, Sudeep Bandyopadhyay's wife, she is second here. She has got 5,096 votes. So till 2nd round, the Trinamool Congress candidate was on the lead in Chaurangi, but now the lead has been taken over by the Congress. Remember, if we analyze the Lok Sabha polls of 2014, the Congress did have a slender margin of 1,500 votes in Chaurangi constituency. So it does have a vote bank here, and that's being proven as far as the 3rd round is concerned.
Big story this morning is that the Samajwadi party at this time is leading in 7 out of the 11 constituencies in Uttar Pradesh where bypoll elections are being held. The BJP leading only on 4. And I also want to welcome Headlines Today's executive editor Javed Ansari is joining us this morning. Significant reverses for the BJP, given especially the fact, Javed, that these were seats where the BJP had sitting MLAs. Now, if this is the final tally, do you think it would add to the entire narrative that the BJP is no longer as strong in September as it was in May?
Perhaps, provided this trend holds. These are early days yet, so we don't know for sure. But if this trend continues to hold, then it will be a big shot in the arm for the beleaguered Akhilesh Yadav government, the Samajwadi party, and perhaps an humbling experience for the likes of Mr. Amit Shah and others who've been trying to replicate the Gujarat model in Uttar Pradesh, who've turned Uttar Pradesh into a laboratory, a kind of laboratory for Hindutva. It will perhaps humble them, force them to rethink the strategy. It will perhaps force them to rein in the likes of the lunatic fringe like Mr. Sakshi Maharaj and Yogi Adityanath.
Okay, I want to bring in Sanjay Jha from the Congress party. The Congress not doing quite as badly as it did in May, still not in the main battle, at least in Uttar Pradesh, where the battle seems more between the SP and the BJP, and the SP making significant gains. What's the Congress making of the initial lead so far, Sanjay?
Yeah, frankly, these are assembly election early trends, Rahul. I don't think we would like to jump the gun and start making an emphatic statement of either a success or a performance that has been disappointing at this stage. I think one will wait for further developments in terms of more rounds of counting, because in assembly elections the margins can be extremely thin. So at this point, all I can see from the Uttar Pradesh results, for example, is that the BJP's extremely orchestrated, I think brilliantly systematic attempt to polarize Uttar Pradesh through incidents of low-intensity violence in local areas, and particularly in all these seats where by-elections are being held, has possibly not worked, or maybe it's worked in favor of the other party. So end of day, I think, the Yogi Adityanaths of the world, and they have been joined by a whole tribe of senior BJP leaders, and with the Prime Minister maintaining an extremely stupefying silence. I think if that polarization strategy boomerangs and falls flat in Uttar Pradesh, I think, irrespective of which party wins, I think it will be good news for the country as a whole.
Stay with us. You made an important point. If these trends firm up, and if that's the final result, with the SP beating the BJP hands down in Uttar Pradesh, would that be a defeat for communal politics and the sort of love jihad politics that the BJP has been practicing over the past few weeks? Or will this be attributed to local factors, and as Rajdeep says, the fact that an incumbent at the state always has an advantage over any challenger, at least in a bipole?